Question for you, when was the last time that you gave soundbars a good, honest look? An honest look. Because I know when they first came out, they were kind of a joke. They definitely were the butt of ridicule among enthusiasts. They were seen as sort of a cute or convenient solution for people who simply didn't know better. And that in no way could a soundbar ever compete with nor replace a dedicated home theater. But with time comes new technology, and new technology leads to new ways of thinking, and one could argue that in 2020, soundbars have become a lot more forward-thinking than most traditional home theaters, which is why we're talking about one here today. So get ready, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already, because we are reviewing Sennheiser's AMBEO Soundbar. Before I jump into this review, I just want to let you know that throughout this video, you may hear thunder, and if it's not raining where you are, you're not crazy. I'm just letting you know. It is raining cats and dogs where we are, so there may be the occasional crack of thunder in this video, but we're going to do our best to work around it. Now, getting back to the review, you guys obviously know Sennheiser as probably a very well-known headphone brand, but you may not be as familiar with their AMBEO soundbar. And if you're unfamiliar, the AMBEO is a 5.1.4 soundbar, and it uses beam steering and your room's acoustics to sort of approximate a traditional home theater experience, albeit from a bar. At least that is, well, the promise on paper. Now, beam steering technology is a way with which sound is directed to you as if there was a traditional or physical loudspeaker in that position. In a home theater, or a traditional home theater with using, say, 5 speakers, we don't need to rely on beam steering because if we want a sound to come from behind us, we simply put a speaker there. If we want it to come from above us, well, we put a speaker there. But a soundbar doesn't have that flexibility. So the AMBEO, or any speaker that uses beam steering technology, uses all of the speakers it has in concert with one another in order to direct the sound around you. So that when coupled with your room's acoustics, it should be very difficult for your brain to discern the difference between a sound that has been steered towards you or a sound that is emanated from an actual loudspeaker. So the question I want to answer in this review is whether or not the AMBEO can actually replace a dedicated home theater, or is this just another example that enthusiasts will point to of a gimmicky soundbar? Now, this wouldn't be one of our reviews if we didn't first tackle style, and I'm not going to go so far as to say that the AMBEO is stylish. It's actually, for me and for Christy, a little bit on the ugly side, but its fit and finish, its build quality is exceptional, and you figure that out the second you take it out of the box. This is not a plastic fantastic soundbar, though it's not as lifestyle friendly as, say, our LG or other soundbars from Samsung. No, the AMBEO means business. But you have to admit, even though it is on the larger side, a little bit more bulky, and well, it's hard to ignore, it does take up considerably less room than a dedicated home theater speaker system. Before we get into this sound, you have to know that in order to get the absolute most out of the Sennheiser AMBEO, you're gonna have to download an app. You're actually gonna have to use 2 apps. First, you're gonna need to use the Google Home app just to connect the AMBEO to your home network. This will enable you to get things like firmware updates, stuff like that, because it needs to be connected to the internet. Once connected to the internet, you then can launch the Sennheiser app, which is also free and on Android and iOS. Now, this will enable you to not only help in the room calibration aspect of the AMBEO, but also fine tune it and make adjustments if you want manually to it. You really can't do any of these things through the remote, so the app is an absolute must. Now, I really like the app. I think that for the most part, it is intuitive. Visually, it's fantastic, and the responsiveness is great. So once you have your AMBEO connected to your home network and you've downloaded the app, you need to first calibrate the AMBEO and tune it to your room. And to do this, you need to use the included microphone. And let's not mince words, it's huge, especially if you're coming from the world of AV receivers with their little like hockey puck type microphones, there is no getting past how big the Ambeo's microphone is. But it works wonders, and it enables the Ambeo to achieve its sonic performance, because I like to listen to a lot of the products like bone stock out of the box to kind of give me an idea of where the bass line is, and then after I perform calibrations, I can see kind of just how far of a jump they make. And bone stock out of the box without calibration, there's nothing about the Ambeo's performance that's worth writing home about. After calibration, things change dramatically. Now, we relied on the Ambeo soundbar as our daily driver, using it to enjoy both movies and music, and Sennheiser has gone to great lengths to tailor the sound of the Ambeo soundbar based on the content you are listening to. So for movies, you're going to want to choose the movie preset, and for music, you're going to want to use music. And yes, it matters, and it makes a considerable and noticeable difference. Now, starting with movies. In the movie preset, with the 3D effect set to normal, it took less than 2 minutes of Michael Bay's Six Underground for me to turn to Christy and shout, "Holy shit." Straight away, I do not doubt Sennheiser's claims of 30 hertz worth of bass extension out of the Ambeo, for it has bass that you can really truly feel. It is incredibly deep and rich, and in our room and in our tests, I just never felt like an outboard subwoofer was required. Yes, you can add a subwoofer to the Ambeo if you want more bass. You can even create a preset inside the app for with and without a subwoofer. But like I said, in our tests, I just never felt like one was required, because the bass coming out of the Ambeo is so tight and well controlled. It's not prone to resonance and rumbliness, which is good considering that the vast majority of people that are going to buy the Ambeo, myself included, are likely going to place this thing on a resonant surface like a cabinet. The mid-range is incredibly articulate and clear, and this is especially true for dialogue. Christy and I have been watching Lovecraft Country on HBO, and as beautiful as I think that show is, from time to time, it's not the most clear with respect to dialogue. But the Ambeo is among the better, if not the best, loudspeaker we have in-house with respect to dialogue rendering, something some of you with some hearing loss may actually benefit from. Now, in terms of soundbar and dialogue, it's not as constrained as what you're going to hear through other lesser soundbars. There's much more of a full-bodied mid-range here, which lends a lot of grounding and dimension to go along with that added clarity. Highs are great. This is one of my favorite aspects of the Ambeo's performance, because like the mid-range, the high frequencies are not one-dimensional. They have a lot of top-end sparkle, but they have weight as well. So they don't come off as just being sharp and punctual. They actually feel very natural. So in terms of its overall timbre, the Ambeo soundbar actually reminds me more of the Formation Duos from Bowers & Wilkins, or a pair of powered monitors from the likes of Genelec, than it does a traditional soundbar. In terms of surround sound, the three-dimensionality of the Ambeo's performance cannot be overstated. Yes, it will be impacted by the type of room you have and where you place the soundbar in it. And in our L-shaped room, which is largely open off of my right side, it did have an impact. I wasn't able to achieve a full 360-degree sound field, but you know what? I didn't mind, because the near 360-degree field I was able to achieve was so immersive. The detail within this 360-degree sound field is incredible, and I especially love the presence of the upward firing drivers, which were on full effect with Dolby Atmos soundtracks, and they were incredibly effective. Now, one quick point about the Ambeo's surround sound performance. If you are the type of enthusiast that likes to test the surround sound prowess of your system using test discs, you know, the kind of things that say like right front speaker, left rear surround, and do all of that stuff, know that that is not going to sound correct through the Ambeo. It's not going to show off what it can do. The Ambeo is very much a soundbar that sounds best when playing back real world content and not test discs. Like most powered loudspeakers, dynamics with the Ambeo are simply incredible. Lightning fast reflexes with loads of punch is how I would describe its dynamic prowess. But the best part about it, the icing on the cake, is that it scales. The Ambeo manages to be involving at low volumes as well as high. Let's talk music, which is one area where a lot of soundbars typically fall short. And you should know that I treated the Ambeo soundbar the same way that I would any traditional 2-channel speaker system. Now, in its music preset, with the 3D effects set to boost with some minor tweaks to the EQ inside the app, the 2-channel playback capability of the Ambeo was shocking. It was arguably my favorite aspect of the Ambeo's performance during this review. The imaging was exceptional. The soundbar actually managed to sound more like moderately sized towers or large bookshelves than I was really prepared for. And I'm not ashamed to admit this, but this is the type of soundbar that I could live with for both 2-channel music playback as well as home theater. And a couple of quick notes with respect to the Ambeo's practicality and day-to-day livability. This is a soundbar that can totally replace a 5.1 channel home theater, including your home theater receiver, as it has enough inputs to accommodate multiple source components. And if you're into that smart home tech, I know we use Google Assistant in this house, the Google Assistant functionality of the Ambeo is fantastic, though a little tip for you, you might want to go into the Google Home app and change the name Ambeo, because Google seems to have a problem with this name. It kept thinking that I was saying ambient, and then it would start playing ambient music on all of our Google Home speakers instead of the Ambeo itself. But as soon as I went into the app and changed the name from Ambeo to just Soundbar, we had 0 hiccups. Now, I know there is a lot of AV furniture out there that advertises that it has space for a soundbar, but the Ambeo is not one of those soundbars that you're going to want to tuck into a cabinet. First of all, it's huge, it's heavy, and the amplifiers inside can get very warm. So you're going to want to have this thing out in the open in a well-ventilated area. You're also not going to want to tuck it into a cabinet because it has upward firing loudspeakers, and that sort of defeats the purpose. Now, with respect to its overall surround sound effectiveness, I will be the first to admit that this is largely room dependent, and the Ambeo is simply going to be more effective or sound better in symmetrical rooms. Now, we live in an open concept house. Our main room is L-shaped, and I was able to achieve very, very good results in terms of surround sound performance throughout most of our room, but I will admit it was a little bit lacking off to the right side, which is where the open area is. Do I hold this against the Ambeo? Absolutely not, as I still found its surround sound performance to be completely captivating. Just know that if you have an open concept room, your mileage, like mine, may vary. If you have a symmetrical room, you definitely want to check this soundbar out. And lastly, and this might just be me, but at this price point, and knowing Sennheiser's ability to do good design, I kind of wish the Ambeo looked just a little bit better. At this price point, I think they could have dressed it up considerably, at a minimum. Offered it in maybe a different finish or color, or just give us replaceable grills with different colors or textures. In terms of comparable products, obviously, we compared the Ambeo to the LG soundbar system that we just reviewed on this channel and that I'll link to down in the description below. And straight away, the LG, in my opinion, is better looking, and in our room, it did do a better job of pulling off a 360-degree surround sound field, but it should. It has dedicated surround channels. But apart from those two things, I actually think I prefer the overall tonality and performance of the Ambeo, and this is especially true for music. Now, when building a dedicated home theater with discrete channels and receivers and whatnot at around $2,000 to $2,500, again, it really depended on what receiver that we used, but we built a home theater around our Yamo S-Series speakers. We used the Sony, Yamaha, and Denon receivers. This is how the price can fluctuate just a little bit. And in our room, again, much like the LG, the discrete home theater did a better job of creating that surround sound experience. But apart from that, the Ambeo more than held its own. In fact, in certain respects, center imaging and dialogue clarity especially, and maybe even dynamics to a small degree, the Ambeo was better. And to make things just a little bit sweeter in the Ambeo camp, I really did appreciate not having to find home for 5 speakers in my room, 2 pairs of speaker stands, running cables, and deciding which receiver went best with which speaker combination. All of those questions completely eliminated by the Ambeo. So if you have not yet built a home theater, or maybe you are a home theater enthusiast, but you're trying to decide what you can live with and what you can live without, the Ambeo raises some pretty interesting questions. And before you guys go blowing me up down in the comments asking, how does the Ambeo compare to the Samsung, the JBL, the Sonos, or the Bang & Olufsen? The truth is, I don't know, because I don't have those products yet. Some of them have been requested. We've even been told that a Samsung is en route. But if I had to guess on paper, I think the Bang & Olufsen and the Ambeo are going to be very closely matched. I think the Sonos may be just a step or two behind that, with then everything else kind of falling somewhere after that. But again, I don't know. But if you want to find out, or you want to see them on this channel, do me a favor. Politely reach out to these brands on social media and just let them know what you want and who you want to review it. At the start of this review, I asked the question, can the Ambeo Soundbar replace a dedicated home theater? And for me, the answer is yes, absolutely. Is it expensive? Well, yeah, but you get what you pay for. And in all honesty, the Ambeo Soundbar from Sennheiser is one of the most impressive pieces of audio tech that I have come across in a long time. Yes, I do think it can replace a dedicated home theater. And for the right person in the right room, it will even best a lot of mid-fi setups. Heck, I think it's refined enough to enjoy proper 2-channel listening through. Yeah, I said it. And will some of you watching this disagree with me? Think that this entire review is rubbish? Absolutely. Of course you will. Because the Ambeo Soundbar represents change, and change is scary. But for the rest of you, willing to give it a shot, have an open mind, I would highly encourage you to demo an Ambeo for yourself, because you may find that it is the answer to a lot of questions you've been asking. Because when it comes to home theater and even some 2-channel playback, it doesn't get any easier than this. So that's it. That's my review of Sennheiser's Ambeo Soundbar. What did you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, you know me, I got a question for you. What would it take? What would it take for you to consider a soundbar in your system? Let me know down in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. All of those things really help to support the channel. Go ahead and ring that bell too, so that you're notified when new videos drop. If you use any of the links that we leave you down below, know that that is another way that you are showing your support for this channel and the work that we do here. And we both, Christy and I, we both thank you very, very much. If you're looking for another way to support the channel, you could consider becoming a member. Click join right next to subscribe down below. Follow me on Instagram at Recovering Audiophile, and that's it. So remember, the only person that has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.